Alright, so this is actually my cousin's acre. And this is, you can kind of see down the line. I've got 5 trees here that I planted at the border. Actually, this food plot that currently isn't a food plot, but so we just watered. You can see that here, this is a native nursery tree. And we'll kind of go down the line. And that's a native nursery. And we can continue on down the line. This is a sweet crab. This is actually the one, well, my first trees that had a problem was it was dug up. Actually, there was only one little root attached to the ground. I don't know if it was a coon or what, but it basically flipped the tube over. The tree was, again, only attached in the dirt by one root. And then the weeks preceding, it was really brown. The leaves died. There was literally no buds on there. But I, put it back in the ground, repositioned the bucket, and have been watering it ever since. And you can see it's, it's thriving. So I guess everything's possible. And at the house, I planted a orchard for myself with actual apple trees. But I did use one chestnut crab, which is really resistant to like cedar rust and things like that. And it's also supposed to be a really good pollinator, and the guys in Wisconsin swear that the thing's like the best apple they've ever eaten, so I figured why not. So when I did buy that, there was a root sucker actually on it, and I brought that down here and planted it down here. And that root sucker was only like 3 inches tall, actually, and it is now well over a foot up into the tube. And last is another sweet crab. This is from Coldstream, and you can see whatever grows here, once I kill it once, it basically doesn't come back. So this is a sweet crab, actually, that's 2 feet from being at the top of the tube. So this is the actual food plot we originally did a couple years ago, first when you and me first started talking, and we mowed it tight, Actually, we sprayed, first, and then we mowed it really tight, like a week or so later, and we seeded it. You can see, the year after we planted it, that next fall, it was pretty heavy on the rye. I'm not going to say it's like the farm, after we do like an actual good planting of rye. But it is just loaded with, it turns out that flower that was in the north end of the pecker plot there at the farm was actually this thistle, which I thought thistle was like prickly, but it's not, apparently. And it's just, loaded with thistle. And for all intents and purposes that I know, there's no nutritional value really for any wildlife. It just grows on shitty ground, I guess. And I don't know if those are called mare's tail or something. I don't think those are good for anything either. So actually tomorrow, I'm going to my buddy's house, and we're going to bring his tractor and disc. We're going to disc this down. We're not going to spray. We're just going to do oats and rye in this. So hopefully that works out well. But as I was telling you, there is a load of oaks in here, and it's, some of them are pretty close to apple trees, and there is enough oaks. I think we can okay the pulling of some of these oaks, even though like this one, certainly not. It's well established. It is a red. I do believe, I'm not an expert, but I do believe because of the prickliness of the leaves that it is a red. I'll begin on here though, and there's a white right next to it. So I'm not really sure how that works or computes. And it's been, the new growth has been bitten off. So, most of these oaks that end up growing are normally bushes, but that one made it into a tree. This one here made it into a tree. See, there is a little tiny one right next to it, but this is a red also, and maybe because they only browse the whites heavily. Maybe that's why, but this is a white that made it on its own into a tree. You can see there's a good 15-20 trees just in this 40-yard swath. There's probably more trees than that, actually. But so that's kind of what we're dealing with. There's really only 2 types of weeds, except for some ferns that have died back within this. And you can see, actually, this place is covered in ferns. But this section that we did the food plot before, the ferns never came back. So that's really what we're going to deal with. We're going to disc it, seed it, and pray for rain. So that's the final update for what I have going on my place. Oh, I did want to mention those orange tags. I don't know if you've seen those on the trees. Back by the 2-track plot. You might have seen it in the first shot when I first turned on the phone. I don't know why they're there. They weren't there 2 weeks ago. A guy stopped in a government vehicle and wanted to come back, use our access to put a liquid in the river to get rid of lampreys, because they shut off the weir. We used to have a weir actually within a couple blocks from our house that would actually stop the lampreys from coming off the river. But so they were using some kind of chemical. I don't know why they needed to put flags on the property in order to do that, but it kind of strings along the food plot, which is kind of odd. But so there's one other thing I wanted to point out too. Some of these oaks I'm finding back here, not just on this acre, but throughout, there are these things on the back side of the leaves. There's not a lot, but there are some. You can see some there, and you see I don't know what that is. It looks fuzzy, prickly looking. I'm not going to touch it. There's a small one. I have no idea what that is. There's a rather large one actually. Is that some type of worm? I'm not sure. It doesn't move. I'm assuming it's feeding on the leaves of whatever it is, unless it's some sort of a weird cocoon thing. I've never seen one like that. So anyway, that's what we got. We'll see you soon.